Hello Year 3. Today we're just looking at reading bar graphs. So we'll begin with the in focus question. We'll move on to the tally chart and table, the bar graph and or chart, and then finally it's your turn. In focus question. Ravi and Lulu asked the pupils in the class to name their favourite type of book. So here you can see we've got a tally chart or tally table because we've got those tally marks, those lines. And remember what we said last time, we don't need to count the where we've got the 4 dashes and 1 through the middle because we know it represents 5. So down the left hand side of the tally table, we've got the type of book. So we've got a mystery book, a science fiction, a comic, and fairy tale. And on the right hand side of the table we've got the number of pupils, so that shows us how many people said that their favourite book was a mystery or a science fiction or whatever else. And even at the end you might want to add your favourite to the table and then create a new data set to show that as well. So that's the data set we've got or have been given. And if we look at the bar graph, the information has been put into the bar graph. So we know that the tally marks are going up in 1. So the bar chart, the scale of the bar chart is also going up in 1. So each increment, each box, each time it jumps up is going up and increasing by 1. So we've got the mystery books. There are 12 numbers of pupils that enjoyed those. Science fiction, there were 4. There were 10 people that enjoyed the comic books and 2 that enjoyed the fairy tales. So when we've looked at the data, that's what it showed. And if we look, without having to count, we can visually see that the mystery books were the most popular because there were 12 pupils that thought that was their favourite, whereas the fairy tale books were the least popular. And it clearly shows that on the bar graph as well because that only reached 2 on the bar graph. Now, if we have a look at comparing the data, so if we have a look at the comic bar, so the number of pupils that enjoyed comic books in comparison to the fairy tales, I wonder how many more enjoyed the comic books than fairy tales. Now, if you remember last week, or yesterday rather, we looked at this and how we could find the difference. And we said we'd take away. So we know that there are 10 people that enjoy the comic books the most. So we've got 10 as our starting point. And there are 2 that enjoyed the fairy tale books the most. So our number sentence would be 10 take away 2. 10 take away 2 is 8. So therefore, there are 8 more children who prefer comic books than fairy tale stories. So we can also find out more information by asking those sorts of questions. So which was the most popular? Which was the least popular? What is the difference? So we picked up on the comic books and fairy tales, but you might choose to do different books and find the difference between them. So if we was to look at science fiction and mystery, what is the difference between those? Think how you'd work it out. Use that taking away number sentence. And then finally, it's your turn. So you'll have these sorts of questions ready for you to have a go at. It'd be something like this. So here you've got a bar graph, but this time instead of it going vertical, going up, it's taken on a horizontal appearance. So the scale is at the bottom rather than at the side. And if you notice, the scale is also slightly different because it might be going up in 1s still, but it's not showing that on the scale. It's taking away. It goes from 0 and then there's a gap and then it goes to 2. Now we know that gap we'd put in 1, but it hasn't done that. So you could even fill that in just to help you. So when it has the scales not going up in ones like we've been used to, really be careful. Check it's still going up in ones because we've got, like we say, the little dashes in between the 0 and the 2, which we know is 1. What's the number between 2 and 4? It's 3. What's the number between 4 and 6? Well, it's 5. So if, for example, we look at the Grape Primary School and we look at the number of paintings that they have on in their exhibition, the bar is in the middle or in between 8 and 10. So what number is between 8 and 10? Well, it's 9. So that is how many, the 9 is the number of paintings that Grape Primary School have in the exhibition. So don't be fooled by it, just make sure you're not rushing. Look at that scale, and again, if it's using a key, look at the keys. But because we're looking at the bar graph just now, we're looking at the scale rather than the key. And then you'll have some questions there to match. So go on to Google Classroom, find your questions and have a go. Good luck.